Oh, hey guys, didn't see you there. So, it has been a while since I've done any videos on the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. So, I thought I'd do a 1 year follow-up review video on this phone because I bought this phone around 1 year ago. I think somewhere in June 2017 or July. I don't remember. I don't have the receipt of this phone anymore. But anywho, I thought I'd do a 1 year follow-up review of this phone because I'm still using it actually. I'm using it as my secondary phone. It was my primary phone until I got the Galaxy S9 Plus, the phone that I'm shooting the video with right now. Anywho, let's do a follow-up review video of this and I'll tell you how my experience has been of the Xperia XZ Premium and whether or not it's worth buying in 2018. And some of you might want to purchase this because it is still a fantastic phone, very reliable. I haven't formatted this phone or done a factory reset. It is still running the original factory installed Android. So let's go ahead and start this 1 year follow-up review video. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in and welcome. So when you pick up the Sony Xperia XZ Premium, the first thing that hits you is that industrial, big bezel, clunky, classic Sony design. It almost feels strange to use the XZ Premium in 2018 because no other phone in the market looks quite like it, and this was a truly 100% unique design. And sadly, Sony ditched this one for a newer ergonomic friendly design called Ambient Flow for the XZ2. Now I won't comment too much on the design of the XZ2 because I haven't used it and I hope Sony sends one over so that I can review it for you guys. So coming back to the design of the XZ Premium, Sony calls it loop surface and I have noticed there's a love or hate thing with this design. Some people love it and some really dislike it, and mainly thanks to that huge top and bottom bezel. And I think for the XZ2 Sony should have trimmed down the top and bottom bezel, meanwhile retaining the same design on their XZ2. And I personally love the classic industrial Sony design. It is one of the reasons why I bought this phone, but it does have some flaws. And I realized that after I used the Galaxy S9 Plus, although they are easily fixed by trimming the top and bottom bezel. Since we are on the topic of design and bezels, I would have loved to see Sony reuse this design on their XZ2, provided they cut off the bottom and the top bezel. I don't really mind this little side bezel here, but yeah, if you trim down the bezel on the XZ Premium design, I think this is quite a nice design, and it would certainly look better than the Samsung S9 Plus. Now speaking of bezels, I have really started disliking bezels on this phone. First off, this thing digs right into my hand like this, and it's not really comfortable for prolonged use, and a rounded corner like this one, it's way more comfortable to use. And secondly, speaking of bezels, you can see the screen size on the S9 Plus is much bigger. This is a 6.2-inch phone and this is a 5.5-inch phone. And even though the screen size is bigger on the S9 Plus, the physical size of the phones are almost identical. So if I put these side by side, you can see the S9 Plus is not much bigger than the XZ Premium. Meanwhile, it has a much bigger screen compared to the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. Now I absolutely love the front-facing stereo speakers on my Xperia because my Samsung also has stereo speakers, but one of them is here on the bottom, and when you're watching a video and you're holding your phone like this, your thumb kind of tends to cover up the bottom speaker, and that will certainly distort sound. But there's a workaround for that. You can turn on the screen orientation and hold your phone like this. That easily solves the problem. But this is one thing I love about the design. We have got front-facing stereo speakers and you can hold the phone whichever way you like. You can keep your thumb over here or you can keep your thumb here. Doesn't really matter. And also love the side-mounted fingerprint sensor we've got. And yes, I love the dedicated camera shutter button. I feel that this camera shutter button should be a standard feature across all phones. And also we've got a 3.5mm headphone jack. Now this is a deciding factor for me because I do have wired headphones, and I also use the 3.5mm headphone jack to connect my phone to my hi-fi system because my hi-fi system does not have Bluetooth. So 3.5mm headphone jack is a necessity, at least for me. Okay, so one feature I really wish the Sony Xperia XZ Premium had was multi-window. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So now I want to text my friend and I want to have the web browser open. Okay, I can do this, but as soon as I open up the keyboard, it kind of goes up there and it's very difficult to copy and paste stuff in between. Meanwhile, if you had the Galaxy, here's one advantage you have on the taller screen phones is that you can have multiple apps open like this. So I can text my friend as well as I can open a multi-window web page over here, and you can see I can easily type and I can read the web page, and I can also watch a YouTube video if I like. Now you might ask me why the hell I'm comparing the Galaxy S9 Plus with the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. This video was supposed to be about the XZ Premium. Well, number one, I'm telling you guys about my experience with the XZ Premium, and I also want to cover the shortcomings. I just don't want to be a blind fanboy of Sony. And secondly, the most important part is that if you were to go out and buy the Xperia XZ Premium today, as of August 2nd, 2018, there is not much of a price difference between the latest 2018 flagship phones like the Samsung Galaxy S9, not the S9 Plus but the regular S9, which is priced at 52,000 Indian rupees or 761 US dollars. And the last year 2017 Sony flagship, the Xperia XZ Premium, is priced at 50,000 Indian rupees or 731 US dollars. There are also other great 2018 alternatives like the OnePlus 6, which comes with 8GB of RAM and 256GB of internal storage, dual camera and all that at 44,000 Indian rupees or 644 US dollars. So do keep in mind the Xperia XZ Premium is still very much overpriced. So unless you're a crazy Sony fan, I'd recommend getting the latest generation models like the Galaxy S9 and the OnePlus 6 over the last generation Sony Xperia XZ Premium, or get yourself a Sony XZ1, which is priced similarly to the 256GB model of the OnePlus 6. Or if you're really fixated on Sony, get ready to spend a huge sum of 75,000 Indian rupees or 1,100 US dollars for the Sony Xperia XZ2. Now let's move on to the display of the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. We've got a 4K HDR enabled LCD display. Yes, this is an LCD display, not an OLED panel. Anywho, I want to tell you guys that this is probably the best LCD display I've ever seen. Now, mark my words, I'm saying LCD display because I'm comparing this display with other LCD panels. Now, if you compare this display with an OLED, this just does not cut it, especially the contrast, the viewing angles. Those are just better on an OLED display. So like I said, the Xperia XZ Premium has a 4K HDR enabled display. But to be really honest, 4K and HDR can be done away with. By the way, the Samsung S9 Plus also has an HDR capable display. And by the way, the UI of the Sony phone runs in 1080p. So whatever you're seeing, whatever you're browsing on Instagram, texting, all that is displayed in 1080p, which is stretched out to the 4K panel. The only time where 4K is activated is in YouTube when you are viewing 4K videos. But to be very honest, finding 4K videos from content creators is very difficult right now, even in 2018, and you can totally forget about HDR. Although I do have Amazon Prime subscription and HDR is available in this the Grand Tour, so you can see the HDR is there. But to be very honest, I have tried viewing HDR on this phone and I've tried it on the Samsung. To be honest, my personal opinion, the HDR content looks better on the OLED display compared to the LCD, mainly because of the contrast. The contrast is better on the Samsung. Now you guys might call me a Samsung fanboy, but as a content creator, I have to be honest, and to be very honest, I feel that the OLED display on the Samsung outperforms the 4K HDR screen on the Sony phone. So it is what it is, guys. It is what I feel, and I will be honest with you all. Once again, I'm not saying that this display is bad, but the OLED display on the Samsung is better. So I've tried viewing the same HDR enabled show on both of these phones. It's much better on the Samsung. And yeah, this is the only 4K HDR show I was able to find on Amazon Prime. So 4K HDR content is very scarce. You're not gonna find it easily, and most of it is paid content, and I don't really see people buying 4K HDR videos. And to be very honest, most of the videos on Amazon Prime are in 1080p rather than 4K. and HDR is again once again very scarce. So I think the 4K and the HDR capabilities of the Xperia are quite limited because the content is just not available yet. I think the 4K and HDR are still quite ahead of its time. Maybe 5 years down the line I will see more HDR and 4K content on Amazon Prime and Netflix, but right now it's not available, and you can save some money and get the regular XZ1 if you are a Sony fan. Otherwise, I recommend that you go for brands like OnePlus 6 and the Samsung Galaxy S9. So this is pretty much the reason why I prefer having OLED displays on my phone. So if you're viewing an image that has mostly dark areas or black areas, as you can see here, and this is a wallpaper that I downloaded from xdadevelopers.com. Link is down in the video description, and as you can see, blacks are completely black on OLED display, and this is at maximum brightness. Meanwhile, LCD displays tend to display blacks as gray as at maximum brightness, so this is also on maximum brightness. This is the XZ Premium. Now the reason why this happens is quite simple, because the OLED screens do not require a separate backlight. So the OLED screens on these two phones don't have a backlight. The pixels themselves generate their own light. Meanwhile, on an LCD display, the LCD display requires a powerful backlight, and the black areas, that is the pixels that are turned off, are not able to block the light completely. So yeah, this is one reason why I prefer OLED displays, is this great excellent contrast. Now guys, don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on the Xperia XZ Premium, and I'm not saying that I dislike the LCD display on this phone. I still maintain that this is one of the best LCD displays you'll get. And take a look at this. Someone actually sent me an email of this picture, and you can see the backlight bleeds on the top of the phone like this. And once again, I think this is normal to LCD displays because you have a strong backlight which needs to be filtered by the different filters on the screen, and you are going to get backlight bleeds. If you don't want all that nonsense, you should go for a phone with an OLED display. And a lot of people will tell you that OLED displays have burn-in issues and all that. Now I have a Nokia Lumia 730. This is quite a well-used phone. I bought this in 2013 and it is still in use, and I don't see any screen burn-ins on this display. This one does have an AMOLED display, so there are no screen burn-ins here on the top, and there are no screen burn-ins here on the bottom where the Windows logo sits. And once again, this OLED display has come from Samsung. So yeah, unless you're abusing your phone, like using it for 10 hours straight, like they do it in the showrooms, the screen is turned on for almost 12 hours a day, you're not gonna get any screen burn-in with normal use. So I would rather pick an OLED display phone rather than LCD. When the Xperia XZ Premium came out, it was running Android Nougat. Now Sony has updated the Android Nougat operating system to the latest Android Oreo. So if you go to About Phone, you'll see we have Android 8. And Sony is quite consistent with security patches. We have 1st July 2018, and the August security patch level should come out in the next 2 to 3 days. So this is what I really love about Sony. They're quite consistent with their updates. And one thing that I don't like about Android Oreo updates is that the themes do not work system-wide. So we have the exact same theme applied here on the XZ Premium. So let me show you which theme this is. So we have this cute cat theme applied on the XZ Premium, and we have this exact same theme applied on the this is the XA Ultra. So this is the XA Ultra. This is running Android Nougat. So exact same theme. And if so let's apply this once again just to make sure. So if I go here in the settings, you can see this is all white, but this theme changes system colors here on Android Nougat. Now I'm not sure why Sony has gone ahead and disabled the system-wide themes, because on Xperia XZ2 the themes work system-wide. So I'm not sure why Sony is leaving out on phones like these. And don't tell me that it is Android Nougat, because even on the Galaxy the themes work system-wide. So you can see the menu here is completely white, and if I apply a theme here, it should change to black. Alright, so if I drop down the notification bar, it's also black, and our system UI is also now black. So this is one thing that I really dislike about Sony. They keep on disabling features for their older models. And also I have noticed a significant drop in battery life. Now before I updated this phone to Android Oreo, I was getting about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time. Now after installing Android Oreo, that screen on time has decreased from 7 hours to around 4 hours 30 minutes to around 5 hours. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The battery backup has also decreased after the Oreo upgrade, although I have seen that with the Oreo update all the Sony phones have seen a drop in battery backup. So it might be an Oreo thing, it might be Google. And the Xperia runs bare bones Android Oreo, and I really mean bare bones. While this is not a bad thing, but keep in mind features like nightlight, double tap to wake, password protected applications, ability to install two same applications on the same phone are just not available, while most major Android phone manufacturers allow you to do all this on their phones. For nightlight, you will have to connect your phone to PC, enable developer tools, and then run ADB commands just to enable nightlight. And I think from my experience, this sort of thing really frustrates an average user who isn't tech savvy. Now double tap to wake is available on the 2-year-old Xperia X. So I'm not sure why Sony is disabling these features on their XZ series smartphones. I think XZ2 has double tap to wake, but it's really annoying that Sony does not give you these basic features. And some people comment on my videos like, hey, where is double tap to wake, and I have to tell them no, it's not really available on these phones. So yeah, kind of a bummer, but that's alright because the performance of the XZ Premium is top notch. So this is where the Xperia XZ Premium really shines, and the app load time is pretty much instantaneous. The software is flawless. I haven't had any app crashes on this phone. Everything just works. So yeah, the software is really good, well optimized, and you will have no troubles, you will have no errors, you will have no app crashes, and this phone will run latest games without any problem. So if you have used an Xperia before, you'll know that Sony likes to install their own album app and their own music app, and I must say that these apps are probably the best in the market right now, and I will not trade these apps for anything else. Now the Samsung phone comes with Samsung Music, and it is nowhere close to the Sony Music app. So I think I have installed the exact same app on my Samsung. You can download the Sony Music app from the XD developers website, and you will be able to install on any Android phone. So I think what makes these applications special is the ease of use and the simplicity. These apps are extremely easy to use, and I absolutely love the UI. And Sony's sound system is absolutely top notch. I did connect my stereo system through the 3.5mm headphone jack. So this is one advantage you have if you pick up the XZ Premium instead of the newer XZ2. XZ2, unfortunately, they have removed the 3.5mm headphone jack. And yes, the XZ Premium does have front-facing stereo speakers, which sound quite good. Let's do an audio test on this phone, shall we? Now for this test, DSEEHX is turned on. Now I feel that these speakers are fairly loud, but they are not the loudest sounding or the richest sounding speakers I've ever heard. So the best speaker award kind of goes for the Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus, because the S9 Plus does sound more rich and much more fuller. So let's do a quick audio test. I know it's not the best audio test because the camera's mic is not that good, but anywho, let's go. But this is fairly good. This is probably one of the best sounding Sony phones out there. So here we go on the Samsung. And this is with Dolby Atmos turned on. Yeah, the Samsung is much louder. We've got stereo speakers on the Samsung S9 Plus. Alright guys, let's move on to the cameras of the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. Now on the back we've got a 19 megapixel motion eye camera. This camera is also capable of recording in 4K. It also does 960 FPS 720p videos. We've got a laser autofocus here, and we've got an RGB light sensor. Also got a small little LED flash. The front facing camera of the XZ Premium is a 13 megapixel autofocus camera. Now interestingly, if you were to buy the XZ2, you get a 5 megapixel fixed focus camera. So I don't know why, I don't know why Sony likes to go back. It's like one step forward and two steps back. Yes, I saw that comment somewhere on my YouTube channel. So yeah, someone said Sony likes to take one step forward and then they go two steps back. That is exactly what they did with the XZ2 with the front facing camera. So actually front facing camera on the XZ Premium is top notch. I love it. The picture quality is good. So here we are inside the camera app of the XZ Premium. It's a very simple app. Not many features here compared to the Samsung. Again, you have 1 second shutter speed maximum. I know someone was asking me about the shutter speed of the XZ Premium. So the maximum you get here is 1 second compared to 10 seconds on the S9 Plus or the regular S9. So once again, it's fairly limited when it comes to features. I think most of the people will be shooting pictures in superior auto mode rather than manual. And even I don't shoot many pictures in manual mode. I just shoot on superior auto. It's more than enough. Then we have the video modes. And once again, I have never shot in 4K. I just shot in 4K once to do a overheating test. I usually keep it on full high definition 30 FPS, which is also what I keep on my Samsung. So again, we have super slow motion modes here. Once again, this is a gimmick. It's a gimmick on Samsung, it's a gimmick on Sony. It's kind of one of those niche features you use once or twice, then you forget it. But super slow motion is much better on Samsung because it's got that motion detection thing, and it's very difficult to capture the right moment on the Sony phone. So again, Samsung, it does implement the camera application and the slow motion better than what Sony is doing. And then we have some camera apps. Again, I have never ever used this, but what I would like to see here is for Sony to remove this dedicated video mode and add a video recording button over here, because I don't know, I don't want to perform this extra step to go to video and then move over to the still mode. Why can't you have both of the modes at the same screen? But then again, it's a personal choice, and some people might want that, some people won't. Some people want that, some people don't. But what does matter is picture quality, and this is where Sony phones unfortunately in the past have really suffered. The low light picture quality of the XZ Premium is poor. There is no other way to put it. It's bad. The XZ2 solves that problem, even though it's got the same sensor as the XZ Premium. Now in broad daylight, the camera of the XZ Premium is actually really good. The pictures are sharp, the picture quality is very good, there is minimal noise. But as soon as the sun sets and you're clicking pictures inside a room, or you're clicking pictures in dark, that is where this phone's camera really suffers. Same goes for video quality. The video quality in dark is really bad in low light, and same goes for picture quality. Now in the past, I've maintained that the low light picture quality of the XZ Premium is good, but after I got my Samsung S9 Plus, that opinion has changed. This phone just suffers so badly in when it comes to low light picture quality, and that is something to keep in mind if you're planning to buy the XZ Premium in 2018. Why? Because the price of the XZ Premium right now is very similar to Galaxy S9. There's almost no difference in between these two phones when it comes to pricing. So let's do a little camera quality comparison between the XZ Premium and the Galaxy S9 Plus, and you can expect similar quality pictures from a regular Galaxy S9, which is priced similarly to the XZ Premium. Alright guys, so here we are taking a look at two pictures shot by these phones. On to our right we have the picture shot with the Galaxy S9 Plus, and on to our left this picture was shot with the Sony Xperia XZ Premium. And both of these phones were in automatic mode, so auto mode on the Samsung, superior auto on the Sony. And right from the start I can see the Sony phone is exposing the picture a little bit more, because you can see this building is much more clearer than the Samsung. But as soon as you zoom in, you'll see the mess that is on the Sony phone. You can see this thing is this part of the building is completely washed out. Meanwhile, this is visible quite clearly. You can even see the inside of the building much better here. And same with building, even though this is brighter, it seems like this thing is slightly out of focus and the picture is on the softer side. Meanwhile, this is sharp and clear. Even though the Sony phone comes with laser autofocus, I think the focusing job is done much better on the Samsung phone. So let's move on to the next picture. Similar type of result. Zoom in. So let's go to 100% zoom. But do keep in mind, Sony phone does have an advantage when it comes to megapixels. So this is a 19 megapixel photo versus 12 megapixel. Samsung does have a lower megapixel count, but overall picture quality is better here on the Samsung phone. So once again, this is without zooming in, and one advantage Sony has is that it has a much wider angle lens. So I'm standing at the exact same place, and if you look at this part here, you can see the building is slightly cut off from the right hand side. Meanwhile, there is much more area here on the Sony Xperia. So the Xperia does have a much wider angle lens. So that's one advantage the Sony has. So if we zoom in here, you can see similar kind of result. The details are washed out and the picture is grainy. Meanwhile, if we zoom in on Samsung, you can see the details are well preserved, especially if you take a look at over here. There's a bicycle standing over there, and if we take a look at this picture, so yeah, you have this one disadvantage on the XZ Premium, the low light camera. The camera kind of really suffers in low light, unfortunately, and you should expect the similar kind of result on the normal Galaxy S9, the non-Plus variant, because the main camera is the same. And considering both of these phones are very similarly priced, I would rather go for the Samsung rather than Sony, because I sometimes shoot low light pictures and I would like to have much better quality compared to just going for the brand. Yeah, even you can see it over here in these front railings. The Samsung does give you a much clearer picture. But as soon as it comes to daylight picture quality, the Sony phone really shines. The picture quality is really good. There is absolutely no noise. The pictures are crystal clear, sharp. So if you're looking for daylight photography, I think the Sony phone does this job without any problem here. And same for this picture. Even at 100% zoom, there is absolutely no loss. The pictures are sharp, clear. There is minimal noise. There is a little bit of noise around the edges, but I don't really care. It's a phone camera, and overall picture quality is fantastic. Especially take a look at this picture. If you zoom in 100%, fantastic photo quality. The picture is sharp, crisp. No problems here at all. So now let's move on to the video. Alright guys, that brings me to the end of this video, and my concluding thoughts about the Sony Xperia XZ Premium is that it is the best Sony phone I've ever used. It's got a fantastic 4K HDR screen, colors are bright, vibrant and punchy. Unfortunately, the contrast is not as good as I would have expected, and that's normal because this is not an OLED display. And I think the only place where the Xperia XZ Premium falters is the low light picture quality. As you might have seen with the similar priced Galaxy S9 picture quality comparison, this phone does not really have spectacular low light picture quality. Although the phone's camera is quite capable, the software really pulls it all down. and I hope in future Sony will solve this, and because on future updates on this phone Sony will solve this, because the Xperia XZ2 has the same camera, yet it's able to give much better picture quality. So it's really up to Sony to update the camera software on this phone to fix the picture quality issues in low light. The software itself is flawless. There are no errors, there are no app crashes at all. The phone still gives a full day battery backup, and the only thing that's wrong with Sony right now is pricing. Now I would have gone easier on the XZ Premium, but the pricing makes it really hard to justify buying this phone in 2018, considering for the price of XZ Premium you can buy a brand new 2018 Samsung Galaxy S9, and this phone is still more expensive than OnePlus 8GB 256GB internal memory OnePlus 6, and OnePlus 6 gives you a dual camera setup, and don't forget OnePlus 6 has Sony cameras. So I don't know, this phone is still overpriced, in at least in my country, and I would like to at least shave off $200 from the current MRP of this phone, and I think then it would be fair enough to justify buying this, because once again this is a 2017 model. It was announced in February of 2017. That means it's already 1 year life cycle is already over for the XZ Premium, and you've got just 1 year of support cycle left. So at the end of the day, I suggest that you do your research, find out similarly priced phones, and always pick a latest model. Like if a phone has been released in 2018, it will likely see a more longer support cycle than a phone which was released last year, like 2017. Alright guys, so do your research and do follow me on Instagram and on Facebook, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys next time. And once again, thank you for watching.